Hello and welcome to My Mom's Basement presented by Barstool Sports and 3Chi. I am your host, Robbie Fox. Along with me is the Groot to my Rocket Raccoon, Clem, my co-host. And we are here to do another free swim, in the words of our friend Eddie. We're going to talk about a couple things today. We're going to talk about our Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 thoughts again, because Clem went and saw it a second time. I wish I had the time to see it a second time this week. It was kind of hell with the landlord stuff still. We're out of that, though, where I'm into a new apartment. So, things are looking good on the horizon, and we're going to do some mailbag questions from the listeners. So I'm excited for this one. We'll also talk about Succession at the end, and we'll give everyone a big spoiler heads up, because last time, apparently, we didn't do a good enough job with the spoilers. I got a DM. Someone said you spoiled it for me. So I was upset about that. You never like to be that guy.
Never like to be that guy. I thought we gave a pretty good, hey, this is spoilers, yada, yada, yada.
I did too, yeah. We tried.
Hey, we tried our hardest, and we're not going to do it again. We're going to get better. We're getting better on this podcast. My guy, Bob, he's no longer living in nowhere. He's going to be living somewhere in a couple days. So lots of shit.
It was like the apartment I was trying to move into was like nowhere after it gets destroyed by Adam Warlock. Oh, we lost Clem. He's back. What happened?
I was closing out my windows, so I just had you. I didn't want to click on anything wrong, and I have the things up, the questions, and I was like, I hit the wrong button because I'm a moron. So a lot of stuff on here. You know what? If you guys want this show to get better, you got to subscribe on YouTube, comment, thumbs up, whatever I don't know, man. I'm so tired of just growing brands here all the time. We're telling people to subscribe and all this stuff, but just do it to help us out because my brain's not working right now.
Tell you what was nice, though. All the My Mom's Basement listeners tweeting us over the past week with their Guardians thoughts. I feel like the conversation has just been going and going and going. Since the last episode, we have confirmed spoilers for Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is spoilers at this point. Guardians of the Guardians of the Galaxy spoilers. If you haven't watched it and you want to watch it and you don't want it spoiled, end this now. Stop watching, stop listening. Throw your phone into the nearest body of water. Computer, even, if you're watching on YouTube.
So James Gunn has come out and confirmed what we already kind of talked about as a theory last time of the "I love you guys" that Groot says at the end of the movie. He came out and said that is confirmed. Groot saying, "I am Groot," and we're just hearing him like we're family. And I love that. I love that he's really responded to so many fans about so many questions and concerns about the movie. Where was Star-Lord's helmet? He said Star-Lord's helmet was just in his desk drawer on nowhere. And yeah, that's he didn't take it because he had to get out of there quick. Interesting. I do think he's a little upset about the Infinity War Endgame, them just bringing it back.
Interesting. That was such a line right there. I didn't think about that being the reason that because there were some things that came out recently too, is he didn't want, I think we mentioned this on the last podcast, was he didn't want to, he wanted Gamora to die in Volume 2, but they didn't, obviously, because I think they needed her for Infinity War. And he didn't want Quill to punch Thanos, which I watched Infinity War yesterday, and I still think he would have punched that big purple grimace motherfucker right in the nutsack chin. But he does break it in two, and then they just bring it back, right? So this is like a, hey, fuck.
And he had kind of a mad tweet about that. I don't want to say he was mad, but it was a little salty. Someone said, didn't it break in Volume 2? And he responded, and he was like, yeah, but he miraculously got it back in Infinity War and Endgame.
I love when he gets a little, he feels himself a little bit Jimmy Gunn here. So I'm actually going to throw my Infinity Gauntlet for the rest of the pod here.
Wow. First time seeing it.
Yeah, man. Metal. I got this. This was an Etsy purchase right here. It was $100 more than the Marvel one that I got at the ride. I returned it. But this is hardcore. And honest to God. So the Infinity Stones are here. They're magnetic. You can take them out and you put them right back in and kind of get to act like Thanos and all. And there's also another set that light up that I have to, you hit them and they stay on for a couple minutes and they automatically turn off. The biggest thing though, Bob, and you know this, the fact that Disney launched those other ones for $100, but you couldn't snap. And you need to be able to snap the gauntlet. That is day one fucking Marvel nerd shit, you have to just do the most iconic moment with the gauntlet. So I got my gauntlet here. It's sitting on my desk. And my daughter, Sienna, she put the my headphones on it. So it's like a headphone holder as well. It's not just like a giant like artifact. So it kind of works two things at once. But I didn't even think of that, because the other thing was the rocket boosters too, right? He didn't have the rocket boosters, Star-Lord, and he said like, oh, Rocket made him such better boosters than that, and he just didn't have them because Rocket was obviously hurt. So I kind of like how James Gunn got a little, he was in his feelings there. He's kind of just, he's like, what are they going to do? Like fire me? I'm the head of their biggest rival now, so who gives a fuck? And
he's
I
on
like
his way out the door,
Yeah, I like how he's been answering everyone's questions, and it's like yes or no's and pretty basic. And then he throws a little bit of shade at people too. He's feeling himself, Jimmy.
Now, speaking of the kids, you took the kids to see Guardians 3. When we saw it, we were like a little concerned about some of this stuff. We were like, your kids might be a little scared by some of this. How did that go? Second viewing for you?
Second viewing for me. And I think it got better the second time because you're just swallowing all that information, and once you're processing everything and you're hoping it's going to be this picture perfect masterpiece, it was definitely better because you have a little bit of an idea what's about to happen, what's going on. And the kids, they loved it. AJ liked it. I don't think AJ truly loves anything other than like McDonald's Happy Meals, which, by the way, Guardians are the toys of the McDonald's Happy Meals right now, which was a big win. Our first two, they got Adam Warlock and Cosmo. So they got kind of like the crappy toys to start off. Let's be honest there.
Not Cosmo. She's a good dog.
She's a good dog. She's a good dog. She's like a C+ Guardians character, though. Let's be honest. A good character, not a great character.
She didn't have a ton to do in this movie.
Yeah. But Sienna loved it. My wife cried, no joke, at least 6 times. She as soon as the movie ended, she's like, I have to go pee. And I'm like, how do you have any water left in your body? Because it all came out of your eyes. Every time I looked over, Rocket gets hurt. Rocket goes on the operating table, all the Rocket stuff. Drax gets shot twice. You think he's done. Star-Lord's face freezes and is about to explode from space, all that kind of shit. And then like the heartwarming stuff, Nebula like almost crying when she hears Rockets are right. James Gunn did such a good job throwing that curveball at us, saying, this is going to be a sad one. This is going to be, a goodbye to some of your favorite characters. All the stuff on the wall with Dave Bautista and Zoe, whatever, I can't say, I don't know her last name. Saldana not wanting to do their characters anymore. You're thinking there's going to be a lot of deaths, and everyone survived, but it's still fucked with your heartstrings. So Sienna loved it. Sienna has it, I believe, 1, 2, 3 in her order, or maybe 2, 1, 3. My wife is 2, 3, 1. And again, we're a Guardians 2 family. We like the vibes, the music, everything about Guardians 2. My wife made a good point here, though, and I want to see if you agree with it. She likes 3 more than she likes 1, because 3, even though it's maybe a little darker, from the jump, they already have the Guardians vibes together. They're already friends. They have that chemistry with each other. Where 1, they don't even know each other in the beginning, and then they're kind of enemies. And even though they're busting balls and throwing quips at each other, you don't get that full family feel until the end of Guardians 1. So do you kind of understand where she's coming from there? So I definitely. I when she said that, I said, you know what? I could kind of see where you're coming from, and I think the music hits a little better in 1, but that side of 3 makes, so I might be a 2, 3, 1 guy if I see it again, and then I have to watch 1 again. I'm just going to watch Guardians for the rest of my life, over and over and over again.
I love them all so much. I don't know what order I would go in. I got to see Guardians 3 again for sure to really get like a good ordering of it. My instinct says I would be a 1, 3, 2 guy, and I love 2. 2 is one of my favorite Marvel movies. It's not, I'm not putting it last and saying I don't like it, but that speaks to how good this trilogy is and how cohesive the trilogy was. Like as a 3-pack, these movies work so well. You kind of have to have the Infinity War stuff, but they recap it in this movie. And that was also, some people thought James Gunn was being cheeky with that dialogue in the elevator scene. Where he's like, she somehow came back. Why did she come back and nobody else? I don't know. I guess it's the magic stone. Like, it might be a little bit of him poking the bear.
I like that shit, man. And that James Gunn does seem like the kind of guy who would do that too, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure I would give anything. I'd love to see the Flaggy whiteboard. I'd give anything just to hear the conversations him and Flaggy had. And Flaggy's like, Jim. Yeah, I guarantee Flaggy calls him Jim, by the way. He calls him Jim and he calls him Kev. They shorten the names. He's like, Jim, I know. We just had to get it done. And the Russo. And I would love to see like the Russos and James Gunn when they like cross paths and he's looking at you motherfuckers. I told you not to touch my characters. Oh man. So I think that's a great call. And honestly, like that was the one thing where like, is Gamora is still there because she was there after the dusting and everything. So good shit from our boy James.
And if you want to hear some more MCU talk, I did an MCU draft on the long take this week on Lights Camera Barstool with Robbie, Goochman, and Kenjack. We each drafted 14 projects. So we did literally every TV show and movie in the Marvel universe got drafted. It was a fun time. We also have a bunch of questions, and they kind of go into the Guardians, some of them at least. So I figured we could get right into them. They are brought to you, though, by our friends at Gametime. We absolutely love Gametime. And Clem, I told you last night, I'm a little more thankful for Gametime today than I was yesterday because they just hooked me up with tickets to see Blink-182 next week. I'm a little afraid of even saying that I'm going to see Blink-182 because I've said that 4 times now and all 4 shows got canceled over the years from 2012 to 2019. But I think it's going to happen this time, and it's all thanks to Gametime. Created by fans for fans, Gametime is the ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows, and they guarantee the lowest price. You could go see Blink, like I said, or you could go see Taylor Swift, Drake and 21 Savage, Billy Joel, the Mets, Yankees, hopefully the Knicks. It's possible with the Gametime app. The biggest last-minute price drops can be found on the seats you thought you could never buy, and the purchase process just takes 2 taps and 10 seconds. Once you buy your tickets, they're delivered directly to your phone, no printer needed, and it's very, very easy to share and transfer your tickets via text with your friends so they can get into the game seamlessly as well. Skip the hassle, enjoy the moment, and download the Gametime app or go to the Gametime website. Enter your email and redeem code MMB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. This is the easiest app to use, though, I promise. And if you go to the website, you want to go to barstool.link/Gametime app. There's where you're going to enter your code. It's also very easy on the app if you just want to do it there. Love Gametime. Thank you for the Blink tickets. I can't wait to see him next week.
Gametime hits it all, baby. Sports, concerts. I got Bluey shows, everything. All gravy. Maybe Bing Bob goes to a Knicks game. Maybe if we can make Game 7, we get Bing Bob to Game 7.
I haven't been to a game since Linsanity.
Oh wow,
one of the games where we beat the Hawks. Yeah. Oh. Well, it was the tail end of Linsanity though, where Mello was back. So
yeah.
You know, I wanted to call it Linsanity, but if I'm being honest with myself, it was the end of Linsanity. First question is a Guardians related question, and I loved this one. And I didn't even really think about my answers, so I'm excited to come up with our answers together. From Cease, he says, if the Guardians of the Galaxy were a Survivor Series team, which wrestlers all time would be which Guardian? So we could take, a wrestler from the 90s, put a wrestler from modern day. We could mix and match. My first thought was like, you got to start with Drax and say he's Batista, right? Like that's the easy one. But character-wise, I think Drax is more of a Kane. I think he's the guy who started kind of scary, stoic, and then you start to learn like the goofy side of Kane, and he starts to show some humor with X-Pac and stuff. So I want to say Drax is Kane.
That's perfect. That is the perfect analogy right there. You nailed that one, Bob. Keep it going.
Groot and Rocket, we got to find like a tag team, one tiny guy, one big guy, right? Like you would want to say X-Pac and Kane, but
yeah, exactly. You already have a Kane.
Like, would Rocket Raccoon be like Spike Dudley?
Ooh, okay.
Is that an okay pick? Just a real tiny guy, but he packs a punch and a fan favorite. People love Spike Dudley. Or would it be like Rikishi and Scotty Too Hotty?
That was my answer. So I can see that. Obviously, you're leaving out Brian
Lawler, but his real name. He was Jerry Lawler's kid. Grandmaster Sexay.
Well, I was thinking Grandmaster Sexay and Rikishi were the two, and then I forgot the other guy. So whoever the
Scotty
third person,
Tuhati was
Scotty
the other
Tuhati.
one. Yeah.
So okay, gotcha. That was my answer there because Rikishi did Rikishi ever really say anything for like years? I feel like all we got was the S in the face, and that was really he let his ass.
Yeah, he would cut a promo now and then he hit Stone Cold with his car later on. So he got to cut a promo there. For Star-Lord, who can we pick for Star-Lord? Got to be just like someone you could relate to, you know?
I was gonna say if he has a little arrogance to him, he doesn't even think.
Shawn Michaels with the charm, the Heartbreak Kid.
Now the only thing is, are we given personality wise? It makes sense. Okay, I guess we've kind of just been talking personality. So I'm like, I don't know if Star-Lord is in the Shawn Michaels era of or tier in terms of like ability. Maybe like Intercontinental Shawn Michaels. We're talking Intercontinental Championship because I do think
he hasn't won the world title yet.
I think he's going to get his push though. I think legendary Star-Lord will return. That is going to, they're like, fuck. Chris Pratt says he wants to keep making these and making a ton of money during it. Let's have him keep coming back. Because, I mean, just look around the landscape. That's the one thing I'm concerned about with these upcoming Avengers movies is there's not a lot of characters or even actors that are like, all right, well, we know we have Evans. We know we have Downey Jr. We know we have Hemsworth. Like, there's really not a lot. I think that was the thing is when obviously Black Panther passed away. It was like, we lost our guy. I think this phase was going to be built around him, Doctor Strange, maybe Quill, and we just lost one of those. Like, imagine if like Chris Evans just died one day. It would have been like, I'm sorry to put that thought in your head, bro. I apologize. As soon as it came out of my mouth, I wanted to throw those words away. So want to say Intercontinental Shawn Michaels?
I'm going to say Intercontinental Shawn Michaels. And then Gamora, do we go like China, like a badass who can hang with the boys?
Bob, this is your gift. I once upon a time, we talked about it on KFC Radio. I did my comparing NFL teams to porn stars blog.
Yeah.
You comparing Guardians of the Galaxy or Marvel characters to wrestling characters. Because China did loosen up at some point too, just like Gamora, right? So I think that plays.
She had like a connection with Eddie Guerrero. They had a great tag team for a bit. Yep. Yeah. And then like if we want to cast some of the other Guardians, like Kraglin like would have to be more of a comedic wrestler or more of a, I don't want to say the Hurricane because he's like acting like a superhero, but kind of maybe the Hurricane.
Okay, that's fair.
Nebula is tough because Nebula is another one who you could say China at first because the stoicness, but who's someone that really loosened up over the years?
Mae Young.
I don't know.
Gave birth to again. Did you go back and like watch all the back issues of the old Raws and stuff from when you were like
most of them? Yeah.
Oh man, I can only imagine watching that. Imagine watching that shit now. I feel like you get canceled.
I watched most of it in like 2014 when the network first launched, and even back then it was like, you know, in 2014 I was watching it like I cannot believe I'm watching this, and they actually put it on their network. Yeah, there's some real bad segments. That was a fun question.
That was a fun question. I tried to watch the Michael Jackson episode of The Simpsons with my kids because they heard the See My Vest song. They loved them. Like, guys, you understand there are some awesome Simpsons songs you had no clue about. And I go to watch the Michael Jackson, like it says season 3, episode 1. Where is it? And I'm like, that's right. They took it down like 5 years ago after all that Michael Jackson shit had come to light once again. And I'm like, yeah, I have kids. I understand it, but Happy Birthday, Lisa is my favorite Simpsons song of all time. So it was very hard for me to swallow that, but it makes sense, I guess.
We got to get you a black market tape of that one.
Yeah,
your birthday's coming up.
Did I think Nebula from volume 1 to volume 3 has the biggest rise in terms of like a character. I hated her in volume 1, and in volume 2 you're annoyed. You're like, oh, she's gonna keep fucking shit up, and it's not really like the character's played badly. It's just I think the way the character is, her just the way she is. And by the end of 2, even the stuff where she's eating the root, it's not ripe. It's just funny shit like that.
Yeah.
And then by 3, it's like she has these real emotions with Rocket and everything because she survived the snap. I think Nebula is like my big riser if you want to like give out an award or something.
I agree.
Like
I saw someone tweet that she might have the best character arc in the MCU. And while I would probably say Tony Stark because just he had the most screen time, she really did go from someone, like you said in volume 1, that you hate to someone that is beloved. And I've said this before on the podcast as well. A lot of that has to do with the paper football scene for me. Or playing paper football with Tony Stark on that ship. It really made me go, all right, I could get down with her if we're stranded on a ship together. I love paper football. Paper football is a big Rough and Rowdy thing for me, actually. Rough and Rowdy's today. Later on, I'm going to hop on a flight right after this podcast. I'll always fold something together and just start playing paper football with the boys. I love it.
I love that you love it, Bob. That's such a fun.
It was a Mama Fox
Bob
special.
We used to do the quarter back in the day in lunch. We did like the quarter football.
Oh, yeah. Irv, did you buy Tears of the Kingdom? I had to look up what Tears of the Kingdom was. It's the new Legend of Zelda game. And I have to make an admission on this podcast. I've never played a Zelda game in my life.
I'm going to make an admission too. Fuck, we're going to lose some subscribers here. I'm just not a Zelda fan. Just the first two for Nintendo. Again, I'm old. I remember when those games were out. It's just like I was more of a Mario fan. I enjoyed that more.
Same.
Our boy KFC might unfriend us.
I know.
He's
not
gonna
rebuke this
on social media. He's gonna no longer be friends with us. But I've just never been a fan. I try to get into it. I fucked around and I'll play it on the Switch sometimes, like the old games, and I'll just be and then I'm like, this not really doing it for me. I tried to even get my kids into it. They were into it for like a day, and then they never played it again. We rented it from the library. Want to talk about some old man shit? I was at the library with them. They said we have Switch games. Like, we'll give this a shot because I'm not gonna buy it. And can you rent stuff anymore? I don't think you can. Netflix is discontinuing the DVDs. Did you hear about that?
No. Oh, wait.
September.
Yes, I did. Yeah,
they're
no, I heard that.
DVDs.
And I'm surprised that they even still do DVDs.
It's still around, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Trent's parents probably still get it, but everyone else doesn't.
Oh,
that was a
Gary.
shot. I apologize.
But yeah, just two guys, not Zelda guys here. And I'm open to the newer games because the newer games do look cool. I know the last, I want to say it was Legend Ocarina of Time. No, that's an old one. Whatever the last Switch game was, looked pretty cool to me. And it seemed
Breath
open
of
world.
Wilderness. They have
Breath
crazy
of the Wild.
names.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild. This one, question that you suggested when I said we're doing a mailbag. I guess this one just came up in your mind. Do you want to intro this one?
Yeah. So it came as I was watching a movie, and it's probably not the right way that I phrase it, but whatever. We're going to just go with this. If you could make one change to a classic movie using AI, what would it be? So we're just going to throw this out there to the listeners. We're going to throw it out to you. My answer was based on the movie, and it's really not even AI. Part of it could be using AI. But the reason I said this is because I was watching The Dark Knight, and I'm like, if we could use AI to replace all the Maggie Gyllenhaal scenes with Katie Holmes, that goes from a 9.8 to a 10. Because I'll tell you, every time she's on the screen, I'm like, man, this movie would have been so much better if Katie Holmes was there. Because every time I saw Katie Holmes in Batman Begins, I was like, I just love Katie Holmes. If I have to see her with another guy, with Harvey Dent, but Harvey Dent's the right guy for the city and for her, and then I have to watch her tied up by the Joker. She ends up getting, blown up. She hears Harvey's getting saved. She's saying, it's okay. I'm like, good, blow Maggie Gyllenhaal the fuck up. I've hated this bitch since she came on my screen. So I do think you take that, you get that like 9.8 or whatever you have The Dark Knight at, and it goes to a fucking 10. I think it goes to a 10, Bob. A perfect movie. I just watched it. Bob, you'll love this. I turned it on just to watch the opening scene because we always talk about it. And then I just was sucked in for an hour and a half. And I was like, I can't just watch this whole movie right now. I have to let it go. So that's kind of where I was. And I was like, fuck, goddamn. And AI is like the hot thing in the streets here. So I don't know if AI is the right word for it, but give me Katie Holmes.
I think it kind of is. Yeah. AI, de-aging, Facetune, whatever it is now. That's a really good pick. And I love the Katie Holmes, Christian Bale connection in Batman Begins. Like they're more of like the childhood friends. You could buy them as childhood friends and whatnot. So I really like that. Two things came to mind immediately for me. One is for a classic movie and one is not for a classic movie. One being Die Hard. There's that one little scene where they prod the dead body and he flinches a little bit. If we could just change that, and that's pretty doable. I mean, like George Lucas probably could have changed that with special effects in the 90s. I think they could do that now. Then the other thing that came to mind is The Rise of Skywalker. Man, I hate that kiss at the end of the movie. I want that out of there. You don't even really need AI for that either. You could just cut that fucking scene out of there. I think that is so bad and like cringeworthy every time I watch it. I would like that out of there. Also, AI hot in the streets. I reached out to like AI musical cover artist people on Reddit, and I'm trying to get someone to make a Tom DeLonge AI cover of pop punk songs. So it sounds like Blink 182 is covering us.
That's incredible. There was like 4 AI stories blog the other day. Francis hit me up. He's like, "Hey, I was gonna blog an AI story, but I already saw there's 2 on the site." I go, "Oh no, Francis, there's 3." I was like, "I blogged one, she blogged one, and I think Dante blogged one. You would be number 4 of the day. It's like our meatloaf day that we had way back in the day with the Donald Trump stuff. But it's fascinating technology. Did you see that there was a story recently that a bunch of people bought a fake Frank Ocean AI song, and it turned out they're all fake songs. And I'm like, how could you? It's like so fucked that you would never even know that. Like the stuff where Biggie's doing New York State of Mind and shit like that. It's just crazy. This stuff
that one sounds good
can
too.
do right now. Those are good answers. Again, the ho ho ho, now I have a machine gun. That's the part where he flips so you see him blink. That's another thing that it does. There's like a little speck of dust on the movie, and that's something you could just wipe off and you have a 10 out of 10 as it is. I like that. Can I make one more suggestion? But you have to promise that once I give the suggestion, we just move on to the next question.
All right.
Okay. I would take AI and I would have them write a complete new script and reshoot episodes 8 and 9 of Star Wars. And that is the correct answer. Boom. Next question, Bob.
Get on it, Chat GDP. Mike wants to know what the one thing we'd change about Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is. This one, I'm curious to know if we have the same answer. I would give Adam Warlock a little more to do in a serious tone.
Yeah, I'd like Adam Warlock to be more. I know why they did what they did, where he's half-baked and they take him out early and he's kind of a fucking bumbling idiot.
And our boy Jake Bass likes that, by the way. I wanted to point that out. Last week I said Jose Youngs was a little disappointed by that. Jake Bass, another noted huge comic fan, huge Adam Warlock fan in the comics, loved his handling in this movie. He's like, they had to do that because, he's fucking gold Superman.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I've told myself that in the end, like I kind of like maybe having him where he's also, I think it makes him funnier too, right? And he gives him more of a personality. And I think if they do use him maybe as a Guardians before he becomes this badass motherfucker down the road, my thing is a much smaller change, but it's something you know how I feel about this. I wanted a Hall & Oates song somewhere in the trilogy. We never got one. And there was a song that they were going to have in Guardians 2. She's Gone. He was volume 2.
Oh, yeah.
And James Gunn said he couldn't find a place for it. I feel like you could have found a place for it with Gamora being there, but she's not really there. I would have liked to have my Hall & Oates somewhere in Guardians 3. Or I like Rich Girl. It's just a great song. Or Easy Lover. Those are the 3 songs that I kind of was like trying to push the James Gunn like mentally. I never really tweeted at him because I know he probably gets those requests nonstop. But maybe just like a song change here or there. I do think it's the weakest, as I've taken a little step back, I do think it is the weakest soundtrack of the 3.
It might be. And that doesn't say anything about this one. It just speaks to how strong the other 2 are, you know? Did you see what he said about the Creep intro? That was almost a different song.
No.
He was just trying to decide between Creep, the acoustic version, and Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd, which I'm not a big Pink Floyd guy, but I love that song. Like, I think that would also work very well. So I can't wait till this movie's out on Disney Plus and DVD and Blu-ray, and someone edits that together so we could see what could have been there. And this bleeds perfectly into our next question from Chris. He says, if they were to make a 4th Guardians and asked you to make the soundtrack, what songs are you throwing in? So I put together some songs that I think would be fucking awesome in Guardians movies. I put together 7 songs. The first of which I'm going to go Band on the Run, Paul McCartney and Wings.
Ooh, that's good.
They are a band on the run, the Guardians of the Galaxy, constantly. So I feel like it fits musically, tonally. And then the rest are just absolute 80s classics for me. How Soon Is Now by the Smiths, one of the greatest, most badass guitar tones ever from Johnny Marr. London Calling, The Clash. I cannot believe that The Clash didn't make their way into a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, considering James Gunn. They got to use some Clash in The Boys, I believe. Works so well. Edge of 17, Stevie Nicks. Reminds me a little bit of School of Rock, that scene where Mr. Schneebly gets John Cusack's sister to loosen up a little bit. But great song, obviously. Then shout out to my Jersey boys, Wanted Dead or Alive, Bon Jovi. How did we not get a Wanted Dead or Alive montage with Rocket Raccoon at some point? Old Western style. Photograph by Def Leppard. Great song. And then I have one final one. And my final one is, this is for when Peter Quill finally finds love on Earth. And he's finally happy. He settles down. Montage with the love scenes. American Girl by Tom Petty.
Ooh, okay. Yeah,
that's my fourth Guardians movie. Obviously, it's not the full soundtrack, but those are my suggestions to whoever makes the fourth Guardians.
I'll throw a few in there. I said the Hall & Oates one. And then if you're not going to do Easy Lover, maybe Invisible Touch. I could live with Invisible Touch there. Wigwam, right?
Oh, yeah.
Couldn't you just see that being like a lazy scene, or like they're just kind of going in slow motion?
I was thinking about that. Like, James Gunn has to decide between like his favorite songs. He's like, should I use this one in Peacemaker? Should I use this one in Guardians? Should I use this one in... Like, he's got to differentiate, and he did a good job. Like, I feel like the Peacemaker is more of the hair metal, whereas Guardians is more of just the 70s, 80s vibes overall.
Yep. I mean, just think of even in Infinity War, Rubber Band Man. Like, that song goes so fucking perfect for that entire
And he confirmed with someone on Twitter this week that he got to choose that.
Yeah, he got to choose it, which when I saw the question, and I'm like, if his answer is no, whoever chose that should be in charge of Guardians, because it was so fucking perfect. And nope, it was him. So not a surprise at all. So, man, if and when they make a fourth Guardians, I'm going to go in with like such high hopes and such low expectations too. Cause it's like, how does it would almost have to be like Sean Gunn would have to direct it for me to feel like it has to be someone that's from the same womb, basically. Like, it's such a unique thing.
Strong Cartoon says, who's your next white whale interview after Connor? And we've talked about this before. I know it's been asked before. I've mentioned Dave Grohl is probably up there. Obviously Paul McCartney, but Paul McCartney's such a white whale that I don't think he would ever do a podcast, let alone My Mom's Basement. In terms of nerdy stuff, I think James Gunn would be up there for the boys together. Like, I think James Gunn, Kevin Feige, either one of them. You could say George Lucas. He's another one that isn't doing podcasts. He isn't even spotted in public, which that almost worries me sometimes. I'm like, what is George up to? Is he building a Death Star in space? Where is he? Who would be your like white whale?
I mean, for this, I think it has to be James Gunn or Feige, and I would just probably turn it into Chris Farley show and just.
Dave Filoni.
Yeah,
we would nerd the fuck out with Filoni.
You would nerd the fuck, yeah, exactly. I just think with Gunn, I would just I could talk for an hour and a half about the songs he chose and which.
I was going to say together. If we were doing a podcast together, Gunn's got to be the guy.
Yeah, exactly. And Feige would be another thing, but it'd be almost an intel mission as it was. Like, I need to get confirmation on that fucking whiteboard. I just got to get it done. And the Mephisto stuff, there actually, now as I'm talking through Feige, there's a lot of things and nothing. We would get shot with the fucking blow dart, like Waldron said, right? Is like, you try to get information out of me, I'm going to get fucking sniped by someone from Disney is always watching.
Before we continue, I want to tell everyone Rough and Rowdy tonight. If you're listening to the podcast the day of the drop, which I hope you are, thank you for if you are.
Super fan, you're a super fan, listener of the week. Anyone listening to it, Basement Boy or Girl of the Week. Anyone listening on May 12th. That's how I'm announcing it.
Comment to confirm.
And you also have to buy Rough and Rowdy to get this award.
So you go to buyrnr.com to buy Rough and Rowdy. Tonight's card is awesome. Like I said, right after this podcast, I'm headed to the airport with Dave, Dan, Caleb, Roan. We got the whole squad. Jersey Jerry's putting on a fight this time. He just found two guys from his town that hate each other. They've been talking shit. He's like, how about we make everyone some money? You guys get in the ring and we settle it there. This is going to be one of the greatest Rough and Rowdies ever. We were just talking about wrestling. We got a wrestling style main event tonight because it's Shizat the Rizat versus the American Ninja. Loser leaves town. First time ever, the loser of this fight has to fucking retire. They've both fought in like 10 Rough and Rowdies. They're like mainstays for us, legends. I'm going to be sad to see one go. During this fight, I know my heart's going to be beaten out of my chest, like big fight feel. I'm going to be heartbroken to say goodbye to one of these guys. Vicky D's back. Hot Wheels is back. Large is going to be reffing fights. Large is going to be doing the ring girl contest afterwards with Jersey Jerry and Frank the Tank. We got a hot mic with them guys. Who knows what's going to happen?
Bet is like, oh, fuck. We didn't think this one out.
We need a tape delay for them. Yeah, 10-second tape delay. Also, I think I could say this. Without me, this show doesn't go live. I currently have in my possession a piece of technology that Pete needs to send the pay-per-view live tonight. And I've kind of been fucking with him. He was like, this is very, very important. Can you get this and bring it to West Virginia? And I just sent him the gif of, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. And I said, you right now.
And I said, you're Rob 2, Fox 2. You're basically R2D2. He loaded this into you, and you have to then carry it down to West Virginia, which is essentially the Tatooine of America, right? And you
pretty much
get it to it. And then you're going to have I was going to say some old dude, but I don't even know. I'm not saying Portnoy. Who's in charge of Rough and Rowdy down there? Is that guy Andrew? Is he the traveler down there?
There's this guy, Jerry, who's now in charge of it. And he looks like Orville Redenbacher. He's great.
Jerry in West Virginia sounds like the guy who's in charge of Rough and Rowdy. This kind of makes perfect sense. That loser leaves town retirement match is such a good idea. And I love how, like, we need to get everything that WWF has ever done back in the day needs to be brought into Rough and Rowdy. Obviously, you have Jersey Jerry's doing like the promotions. You have this crazy promoter. Large is like the guest referee. You have now a retirement match. Keep all the stipulations and crazy shit coming, because when
casket match next time. No, I'm kidding. Inferno match, like the apron on fire.
I guarantee you can do that in West Virginia. I guarantee there's no laws against that there. Rough and Rowdy 22. Breaking news on My Mom's Basement. First ever Inferno match next week.
Yeah, hotter than hell. That'll be the tagline. But tune into Rough and Rowdy tonight. I truly can't wait for it. And how about this for the listeners? I promise I'm getting a Babu Frick reference in on pay-per-view tonight.
Wow.
That's for the My Mom's Basement listeners. So when you hear that, if you listen to this podcast and then you watch Rough and Rowdy, tweet me and be like, oh shit, the Babu Frick drop.
If you said bad baby, no squeezy, do you think Portnoy would know what you're talking about? It would blow his fucking mind.
I think he would. I'm going to see. I mean, I already have kind of a locked and loaded Babu Frick type line. So I'm going to say it and we'll see what he says about it. I always try to get a nerdy reference in for the nerds. I usually get like a Batman or Star Wars thing in.
And can you promise me, whether or not you get that one in, if there is a fighter that keeps grappling, will you say, bad baby, no squeezy? Can you promise me you'll at least try to get it in there?
I'll try to get it in tonight. Yeah. So tune in tonight, buy R&R. Let's see if I get all these references in. I liked this question from Bruce. He DM'd me. And he said, you seem like a pretty positive person, an optimistic person. We share a ton of similar interests and opinions. I want to know what strong negative opinions you have about something, whether it's a movie, TV show, video game, band, etc. I've said this before. I hate Shazam. It's one of the most beloved DC movies, and I think it's trash. I just watched not too long ago a new Pete Davidson movie with Kaylee Cuoco. It's called Meet Cute. Maybe the worst movie I've ever seen in my entire life. It was just horrendous. TV shows, I don't think I've watched a bad TV show recently because I'm pretty picky with my TV shows. Like, I got to have it recommended to me by a bunch of people for me to dive in, you know? I did just start some Netflix show called Alone. I don't know if you've ever heard of this. It's pretty fucking crazy. They just drop people off in like the wilderness covered with bears and they haven't filmed themselves. They're alone. I didn't like that they killed a bunch of animals in that right after I watched Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I get that they had to survive, but it just didn't. Oh, and how about this? Someone comes up to me outside the train station 2 days ago with the Humane Society. And they're like, hey, do you like animal abuse? And I was like, absolutely not. And they were like, would you like to donate? I said, sure. So I start donating, filling out this form. I was going to donate $20. I thought that was nice. I'm in the middle of a move, so funds are tight. And then they told me, well, our minimum's 30. And I was like, whoa, that's like over 50%, you know, another, like, you're adding a lot of money on there. And I eventually didn't get to donate because I had to run into my Uber. And then I went online and I donated like a sucker because I felt bad.
Wow. That is like, it's a little presumptuous there. Be like, oh, $30.
I was like 20, like, not to be this guy, but like any donation's nice. No?
Yeah. I think
like $10 would be nice, right?
Yeah. I'm telling you, whoever in the meeting was like, let's bump it up from 20 to 30 here as a minimum, caused more damage and lost them more money than it ended up gaining them.
They got my fucking 30 after all. They made me feel bad.
Well, not everyone's as kind as you, Robert, though. You're my sweet little Robbie. You definitely do, which is why you're such an optimistic person. That's the whole point of this question. I'm going to say something here. All right, listen. This is a fucking gripe-free zone. If I say I don't like something, I don't want to have everyone getting mad. Like, listen, the Zelda.
No, they asked for the negative opinions. You don't get to get mad about that.
You can't get mad about it. This is just my personal thing. I do think the Zelda thing kind of fits in here too. Like, it just doesn't do it for me. I actually was at the point where I saw I saw someone tweeting about the Tears of the Kingdom, the Zelda thing, and I was like, man, I'm just happy. Like, I'm not obsessed with it. And I also thought, like, I'm happy other people probably couldn't sleep. They were so excited for this. Good for them. Never been a Zelda guy. Another take, I just never liked Better Call Saul. I didn't really enjoy it. I watched like 4 fucking seasons and it was just all this stupid, dumb law shit. There were obviously funny moments when Jimmy was cooking at his absolute best, hilarious. And I know they said like the last few seasons got really great. It shouldn't take that much. It should be like a pistachio nut at most. If to get to the delicious, good show, I should have to just go pop and maybe a couple episodes and then I go from there. It's like I was fucking like digging into a fucking boulder to get the good stuff in the middle. And I'll be honest, granted, it was through like YouTube's. I watched all the shit that happened and I wasn't like blown away. So I'm sure there's people who think it's better than Breaking Bad, which is a preposterous take. So that is my take. I didn't really like Better Call Saul.
I hate to agree with you, but I agree. I made it 2 seasons in, and I know people said, you got to make it farther. You got to make it farther. I didn't make it farther. All the stuff with his brother, the tinfoil hat, the conspiracy. Breaking Bad's my favorite show of all time. I couldn't make it in. I just couldn't.
You're talking to diehards of Breaking Bad right now. We couldn't make it that far. And if you did, God bless you, as Mike Francesa would say. And what was the other one? What was the the Breaking Bad like sequel? That was
El Camino, which I actually liked El Camino. I've gone back to that a few times.
Okay, I was gonna say we watched it once and I liked it, didn't love it, was I guess a little underwhelmed because I had Breaking Bad on such a high pedestal. But I feel like if I watched it again, I'm like, oh, that was fun. You know,
I watched it like 6 months ago and I really liked it. Yeah.
Cool. I want to almost do a Breaking Bad rewatch. I think my wife said that to me the other day. She's like, let's do a Breaking Bad rewatch.
Oh yeah. Well, it's leaving Netflix, so you're gonna have to buy the DVDs. Leaving Netflix on the 30th, or you could go real quick.
Yeah, that's a hell of a bet, binge, baby. Let's go.
Aaron Paul is going to be in the new season of Black Mirror as well. I saw him in the trailer.
I can't fuck with Black Mirror, dude. They're just too crazy, and then it gets a little too real because we're kind of living in Black Mirror. I can't fuck with it. It's a good show.
I want Aaron Paul to get more roles, though. What a fucking great actor who hasn't done much after that.
Yeah, he does one thing that he does very poorly. I can't say it on this network, but the thing he does, he stinks at it. He's in a commercial. He's in a commercial.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
And it's honestly so bad that I'm happy to do it because he is so bad at it.
The final question from Austin. I don't think this is Dave's Austin. I think it's a different Austin. He said, how would you have Marvel and Star Wars eventually crossover? Bad guys or good guys to start the movie? Maybe even a series crossover? I think this is going to happen one day. This is maybe a hot take. I genuinely believe there's a lot of money to be made in crossing over these universes, whether it's going to be good or bad. They want to make toys where it's Luke Skywalker versus Iron Man or something. I think that's going to happen one day. How would I do it? I would let Taika Waititi handle it in his movie. And I think you start small with aliens. You don't right off the bat introduce big major characters to each other, Infinity War style, like Guardians and Avengers meeting. I think you have Korg meet a couple Anzelians. You have Meek meet a couple droids, and you start small and just let us know, oh, I guess they are in the same multiverse or universe right now. If you travel far enough into the galaxy, far, far away into the galaxy, you can find these other multiverses, universes, planets. I think start small and build up from there, and then see if it works. You know, you don't risk canon for something that couldn't work.
That's fair. Yeah. You don't want to just have the Flintstones and the Jetsons meet, which is such an outdated reference that I use now. My kids don't know the Flintstones.
You used that last week. Like your favorite
Bugs
thing.
Bunny. Yeah. It's because it really, you see your mortality is when you realize your kids don't know any of the cartoons you grew up with. when it gets big and it becomes after that, I think the way you did it was perfect. It's like when you put the fish in its bag still in the tank and you're letting the water all get to the same temperature. That's what you're doing. You're letting a couple aliens and a couple little side aliens just cross paths. But when you actually rip that bag open and that fish is going in the tank and mingling with all the other little fish, I think the Guardians have to be at the forefront of this, right? It just makes too much sense. Yeah. I don't want to see Captain Marvel being with the Star Wars people because you have to think it's a space thing, obviously. So it needs to be someone that is in space. I do think that the only problem is I feel like the Guardians are almost too funny and light for like the Star Wars universe. Like that's the one thing we love about Babu Frick.
I just realized the Peter Parker problem is he's a big Star Wars fan who has a Lego Death Star and he references the movies.
I was actually trying to think if it had been canon in the MCU of is existing, and yeah, it definitely does. So then it's like, oh, it's a documentary, like they say with Avatar when you go to the Avatar land, Disney. Shit. So that's a legit problem. All right, I think we hit a snag here. We're gonna have to figure this one out.
And I don't think this is happening soon. When I say this is gonna happen one day, I think this is gonna happen like maybe in the next decade, but I think in probably like 10 years, this is going to happen when they're really, really dry out of ideas.
Disney stock is currently, let's see what it's at, 91.56, and there is a lot of red I'm seeing with it.
If it hits like 50, do they hit the Star Wars Marvel button?
There is a button. It's in Feige's office and Filoni. They both have to hit the button. It's like George says.
They have to turn the keys together.
Yes, they have to turn the keys in the submarine together, like George Costanza says. I love that we had that reference there. So yeah, it's going to happen, and it's going to happen at what's the number? 50?
50, yeah.
There it is. If that happens in the next 10 years, God bless whoever is the CEO at Disney at that point.
And then the final thing on this week's podcast, we promised it at the beginning, Succession Circle Back. So listen, if you're not caught up on Succession, get out now. Hurry up, get out, open up your apps, close out of the podcast, X out of your windows, like Clem did earlier on the podcast.
And if you
spoiler zone.
And if you are someone that turned off the podcast because you didn't watch Guardians, somehow find out that we're no longer talking Guardians, but we are talking Succession. But that part is spoilers. So if you haven't watched that part, turn us off again. But if you have watched Succession and you want to be spoiled, let's talk spoilers. What is it? Succession
Circle Back, I think we call it.
Succession Circle Back. Yep, that's it. Perfect.
I saw Dave in the office yesterday. I asked him what he thought of the season, and he's one behind right now. So nobody tweet Dave anything, especially, Succession related. He is a big fan of this season, but he also feels like the show is lacking a little without Logan. I do agree to a degree. Like, Logan is the best character, even though he's like the biggest dick. He is the best character on the show, was the best character on the show. So it does lack a little bit, but every single week I'm like, damn, this show is good. Like even this past week where it's mostly just a party, you're kind of going like conversation to conversation. Greg's being more and more of a dick. He's firing everybody, earning Mattson's trust. And then you find out the bombshell that Mattson's lying about his numbers. He's like, well, if there were 2 Indias, it would be true. It's like, well, there's 1 billion people in India. Holy fuck. And then they end it with the Tom and Shiv fight. Like maybe the most tense fight we've gotten all season. He tells her, you would not be a good mother. I don't think you would be a good mother. She's got a baby in her belly, Clem.
That's something you don't say to your wife, estranged wife, not estranged, whatever, at all, let alone when they have a baby. Granted, he doesn't know yet she has a baby, but you still don't say it. Someone said it perfectly, too. That Shiv-Tom fight on the balcony is like the first time that characters actually talk like normal people on Succession. Yeah. It was like the first time ever. It was so stark, but it was awesome. Those people, I mean, it's like, just like the Emmys are just carving their names into the statues right now. Like we're not even going to bother if you're fucking.
Well, we said that about The Last of Us too.
That's true. That's a fuck.
Will that be a mini series and this will be a series? I don't know.
I hope so.
Nominated against each other. Holy fuck.
And that's why HBO is so fucking awesome because those 2 shows. That's just the first half of the year they've done it. It was like.
What about House of the Dragon too? Is that nominated for this or is that last season? If that's this upcoming, I don't know where the cutoff was, but oh my God, HBO.
Where do my loyalties lie?
HBO is absolutely killing it this past year, the whole calendar year.
It's incredible, man. This first 2/3 of this episode was just kind of like, it's fun, whatever. And then it was just bombshell, bombshell, bombshell. The Mattson thing. I need India 2 to actually exist because the Shiv wagon is about to go off the fucking rails if it doesn't. Because she made her bed with Madsen, but she's also kind of like she's never actually like stabbed her brothers in the back at this point. She's kind of like they don't really know what's going on.
She's poking them with the knife, but it hasn't pierced the skin. Which is kind of how she always is. Like constantly, they're fucking each other over. Like everyone in the show fucks each other over right to the point of no return. The issue is like Tom fucked her over to the point of no return last season.
Yeah, and that look. I still see that look sometimes. I go back to that GIF where it's like feels like Godfather-y vibes, you know? It's like a dark room, and I'm like
closing the door at the end. Yeah.
Which
is actually my favorite part of The Last Jedi. Maybe the end of The Last Jedi. Rey.
No,
Kylo
we're
Ren
rewriting that, Bob. It's already been
yeah,
answered earlier in the podcast.
Also, I've seen a theory all over Reddit, Twitter, everywhere where people are talking about Succession that I love, and I really think is going to come true. I think Greg is firing Tom this season.
I heard someone said the same thing to me, and I fell in love with that idea. It would be so fucking great. And as someone
showing how ruthless he is, I don't care. I'll fire Ebba. We don't want that attitude in our company, like laughing up with the boys. I think he really did earn Madsen's trust in this episode.
If the Greg can be the one to throw the Tomlet in the garbage, it would be a poetic thing. And I don't know how we get there because all this Madsen shit seems crazy. And that's the other thing. Kendall doesn't seem to know what the fuck he's doing, or he's so manic with like his actions, and then he ends up kind of being right. Like this Madsen shit was all kind of just bullshit when it's all said and done. Which it feels more and more like Madsen's turning into Elon Musk in front of like he's not even a programmer. He just was some guy that like we basically was our PR team that made people think like he's a smart dude that can code and shit like that. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. And
you think Elon's watching like Glass Onion and Succession? He's just like, again, it's about me.
No, he is like so he doesn't even understand that he's just being fucking
he's a robot. Yeah,
exactly. Our boy, the 1%ers, our boy Cons. How about that? Fucking, he's like, only one person here cares about me, and I only care what they think. Our sweet Willa, our future first lady, sweet Willa, the kings of Oman, king and queen of Oman, or whatever the fuck.
Gotta ask my woman about Oman.
He's like going through the place, like, it seems a little car bomby. Like, let's talk UN. And they're like, Cons.
He had the line of the episode, too. I wouldn't go anywhere without nukes.
Yeah. So good.
We wouldn't put you anywhere with nukes.
How about North Korea? What a Connor line. Connor Roy, our fucking king, man. He's the best. It really just does diffuse everything. And this, I think they said episode 8, which I believe is the next one, like, craziness happened. I think they said it's like one of the craziest episodes ever. So I don't know what the fuck that can entail, right?
And as we mentioned last week, we have a supersized finale, 90 minutes for the finale, which is going to be awesome. It's like a mini movie there. I mean, not even a mini movie. Movies are 90 minutes. That's a movie.
It's a movie. That's a good movie, as how long movies should be.
Agreed. I can't wait. It's been a great season of Succession. As we said, I think on the last circle back, I think season 4 has been stronger than season 3. I think we're back to like peak Succession vibes essentially. And if they could land this plane with, I don't know what the final scene should be, but if they could do it, this will go down as an all-timer.
Yeah, I'm loving it. I do think that there is I think it's a 2020 COVID, like that's, I think why season 3 was a little off. It's because of all the COVID shit, and they're getting out before the writer's strike could have fucked them up. They might have like navigated this perfectly, given all the different challenges along the way. I love it. I'm very happy. And non-spoiler, non-Succession thing. We're both fans of the show Dave. I think Dave has had a huge bounce back after season 2, which a lot of people didn't like. I think it might have ended all pretty good if I remember correctly. Yeah. But I do think there were some weird parts. Season 3, I haven't watched the last episode. Everything else has been phenomenal. I've loved it.
Agreed. We're back to season 1 vibes with Dave. The cameos have been great. The actual storyline has been great. Having the gang together on tour is awesome. Like having everyone together in every episode. And yeah, the Storm episode from this season was one of my all-time favorite episodes of Dave. Yeah, check it out. It's on Hulu if you've never seen it. It's a half-hour show, hysterical.
And they play the new ones on FX, and then I think it goes to Hulu, kind of like they do with The Bear. So that's where I usually watch it. And yeah, a lot of times the episodes you think it's going one way, and they keep you on your toes, and it goes a completely a different way, and sometimes in a crazy direction. the R.I.P. Little Dicky one.
R.I.P. Little Dicky.
His hotel visitor. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing right now, boys? What's going on? So it goes in a bunch of different ways you could never see going. So it's awesome. Awesome show. Big fan.
All right. That was the free swim. I feel bad taking that from Eddie, but this was a free swim podcast, mailbag podcast.
Bob, free swim is a thing long before my friend Edward, and I love the man. I've heard free swim used before him, but we'll just take it. Maybe we'll call this Barstool Chicago.
Barstool Chicago. They're not using dog walk anymore, right? They changed to the mid show. This is the dog walk. All right, maybe it is the dog walk. Redline Radio changed. They still have the dog walk. Redline Radio changed. We're Redline Radio. All right. Make sure you like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Tune into Rough and Rowdy tonight, and I'll try to get that Babu Frick reference in for all the people.
I think I tore my shoulder just fake boxing. It's not good. It's not a good sign of my life.